Welcome back to the Foundry. Today's kind of a warehouse day for me, and normally I wouldn't mind that. I don't mind working in the warehouse, but today it's like 101 degrees in here and it's very humid, so yeah, it kind of sucks. But with that in mind, I think it's time I do a little something about that just to make life a little bit more tolerable in the warehouse and in my shop. But before I can get to that, I got some other stuff to do. So if you want to hang out, let's get into it. I've got to cut some hose off of this reel here. I don't get much call for hose anymore. Or I'd have a better way to do this. Usually if I sell hose, it's the whole reel. In this case, that comes 500 foot on a reel and customer only needs like 250. So I'm going to pull some off of there and cut it. Let me show you how the Foundry dealt with this for decades upon decades. There's no paint mark. I don't know. Let's see if we can get you to one you can see a little bit better. They marked on the floor every 5 feet for 80 feet. This building's 100 foot long. It was built in 1909, and they sold a lot more hose and things than I do, but that's how they delineated the amount they were pulling off a reel. And at about the 40 foot mark is where they must have sold the most of it, because the floor is pretty well tore up just right here in this spot where they were cutting whatever it was that they were selling. Now this is what would you call it, pre-Portland cement, so the floor tears up a little bit easier than maybe modern concrete floor would. But the last time they painted these lines, they painted them green. That was probably, I don't know, back in the 80s maybe. Before that they were red, and before that they were yellow. You can really see when this floor is wet. But if you come all the way over here, there's a yellow stripe. And this goes from door to door. And they had their hose or whatever material it was they were laying out hanging up somewhere, and they'd pull it out and cut it. They either cut it in very common 40-foot sections, or their cutter happened to be hanging around here somewhere, and so they would often cut right here for whatever reason. And they also had marks going off into that warehouse painted in red and numbered. Here's the 10-foot mark, and that's where they'd lay out material and cut it. So I don't know, kind of cool to me anyway, but I'm kind of a history nerd, I guess. I really enjoy this old building and the history behind it and how they worked in here back in our great grandfather's time period. I'm going to start down at this end, and I'm going to make me a little something to hang this reel on to where this job will be a little bit easier. All right, by the time you account for the loops and everything, this is 250 feet at this line here. I'm gonna give them a little extra just to be on the safe side, but I've calculated that it's at least 250, and that's what they ordered. So see if I can cut it while holding a camera. Easy peasy. All right, got it rolled up here next to the employee fitness center. So these are the kind of clamps I always like to use. They're the double ear, and it gives you maximum adjustment and pretty well permanently holds the hose to your fittings. So now I just need to go get this delivered. Well, that worked out pretty well. And now that I'm thoroughly drenched, I say we do something to try to mitigate this heat out here. All right. What we have here is an evaporative cooler, often called a swamp cooler. And you're probably familiar with these. The way it works is it's got a water bin down here. It pumps water up and runs it through this media. And as that water trickles down through, you got a big fan in there blowing. It evaporates that water and cools the air. Just picked this up at Home Depot, and I actually had a little video go viral about my last experience at Home Depot, and it wasn't a good one. But this time was actually totally different. I don't know if they've corrected something or what, but had a very, what was that? We got a little squirrel up there. Had a very positive experience. Knowledgeable staff this time. There's 2 of them, and they really helped me out. And because this thing wasn't out where you could get to it, it was way up on a shelf, had to block off 2 aisles and all that. And they did it for me, no problem. So was glad to get it. Now the way these things work, they typically work best in a dry environment where there's not a whole lot of humidity. Now we're in the armpit of the nation, so there's a lot of humidity, but even still, we used to use these in one of the plants that I worked at, and it actually made a difference. We had them in the maintenance shop, and it cooled, I want to say it was like 5 degrees difference between the ambient temperature and what was coming out of this thing. So if you could wheel this over by your workbench, it was pretty nice. Now, some people complain about them that, okay, I don't want my tools to get sweaty and rusty and this, that, and the other thing. Well, in my facility, I don't have to worry about that because my tools are already rusty because the building is not insulated. So given all that, if this will lower the temperature 5 degrees, I count that as a win. I can use this here in the Employee Fitness Center. I can use it at the, I got a workstation for the night shift. I can use it in my mechanic shop. I can even use it in the clean room if I leave the doors open. If I'm working on something out under the awning, I can wheel this thing out there. So I think it's gonna be really handy to have around. Now they are a little bit spendy, but it wasn't until recently that I figured out that they actually make these in these smaller, more compact sizes. The ones that I've had experience with were always so big, they were extremely expensive, and I never could justify getting my hands on one. See, I have this unique talent. It's an ability, it's inborn. I mean, I wish I could teach it to you, but it's just inborn. But I like to deprive myself of things. I never spend money on myself. If I'm spending money, it's always business related. But I have found that the older I get, the more intolerant I become. And it's not just with women or children or small animals. This heat, I cannot tolerate this heat anymore. So I felt pretty good. This thing was $600. That's more than I'd want to spend typically on something that I would consider to be a luxury item. But like I said, at my age, I'm done with this heat. I'm done with it. So anything I can get to mitigate that, I'm going to try it. So there was really no assembly required with this thing. It just comes right out of the box, except for the casters. It's super simple. It's just 4 bolts per caster. It's really not rocket proctology. And then of course you screw on this little fitting here. So your tank is down here. You can hook a water hose right here. It's got apparently a float or something in there. You just don't want to exceed, I want to say it's like 60 PSI. My local water supply is 40 PSI, so it's just perfect. But what's often handy is you can also fill this thing with a bucket, like the one I have here. Now I've already put some water in it. It just so happens I have a portable air conditioner in another part of the facility, and it produces about a 5-gallon bucket of water per week. So I just recycle that water. I take the water from the air conditioner, dump it in this thing. So I figured that's a good deal. And if you really want to get nuts, you can cut these louvers out and dump bags of ice in there, and then you've sure enough got some cold air. All right, let's crank this thing up and see what it'll do. We got the fan here. I've got the little dead rodent on my microphone here, so maybe the wind won't wind noise won't be too bad. Go ahead and put it on high and turn the pump on. And you see water trickling down the media. And the cool thing about this is the media, like some of them, the media is just in the back. This one's got it down both sides as well, so quite a bit of surface area in there for that water. It's already cooler than ambient air. Oh, I've got it on swing, so it's doing this number. So this one's rated to cool about 1,600 square feet, which is ideal for my employee fitness center here. Should cool this area, you know, a little bit. And then of course, the mechanic shop in there, it'll be great for that as well. So I'm gonna let it run for a few minutes, and then we're gonna get the laser thermometer and see if we can tell a difference. All right, so it's been running about 5 minutes. I guess I've become impatient in my old age as well. So I have this laser thermometer. We're gonna put it on that wall over there. Let me turn the laser on. Ooh, crap, 103. It's probably about right. It's hot as balls out there. All right, there's the laser up on the wall. I don't know if you can see it. 100 degrees. And what's coming out of our fan, 85, 84, 84 degrees coming out of the unit. Let's see our temperature in here. What's Chuck Norris and Christy Brinkley doing? They are doing 95 degrees. If you can see that. I can't see through this little viewfinder. There it is. 91 on the concrete, 95 on the gym equipment. So yeah, we got 84, 85 degrees coming out of this thing, and I count that as a win. Now granted, if it's super humid outside or in here, what have you, ambient is high humidity, it probably won't be as good, but that's pretty awesome. There is one thing about this unit that I'm really not sure about. Not sure if I like it. Let me grab a quick reading. If I can turn on the laser. There we go. This little apparatus here, and it's down to 93. But the thing I'm really not sure if I care for. Now the instructions say you're supposed to let the fan run for 30 minutes after you kick it off. That way it thoroughly dries your media and you don't get Legionnaire's disease apparently. So if you look in the front here, these louvers are pointed straight up and they are not adjustable. They look adjustable, but they're fixed in the middle. And so you can be standing right back here and you don't even feel anything coming off of that. So I thought, what is going on? Surely these are adjustable, and they're not. So I goggled around and I read that the reason for that is this cold, moist air is more dense than the hot air in here. So what they want to do is get that up above you, and then the cold air falls. And that may be the case, but I can tell you this thing's been running for several minutes now. I can't tell just a whole lot of difference out there. When I come right up to it and the air's blowing on me, it feels awesome. But the issue I'm dealing with in here, the roof in this, or the ceiling is that's probably 20 feet up there to the top. And so I don't know, it's rated to be used actually outdoors where there is no ceiling. So I wouldn't think that would be an issue. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. So I think what I'm going to do, well, I got two options. I can take a cutoff wheel to this and remove them louvers and just have it blow straight out. Or, but I hate to do that. I paid so much money for this, I don't want to screw it up in case that's actually something beneficial. So I think what I'll do is put a box fan up here on top, and that'll blow that cold air, you know, wherever I happen to be, whether I'm in here working out or I'm working on a truck in there, I can drag it around and actually blow the cold air on me. I think I'd like that a little bit better. We'll see. But up top, you have a little storage area. You can put your keys, your phone, your wallet, and your pre-workout drink, you know, if you're in the gym, or you can put some tools on here if you're working on a truck. So that's pretty handy. But if I got a box fan sitting on there, and it's going to take that away. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the deal. So far, even with the louvers, I really like it. I haven't been this excited in years. And if I get way back here, I think I can tell a difference. I think it's a little bit cooler over here. So I think that's probably what it's designed to do with those louvers being shaped the way they are. But whatever the case, it's light years ahead of nothing at all. So of having nothing at all. So yeah, we're in the armpit of the South. So anything I can do to try to beat the heat, I'm going to give it a shot. So I got to get back to work. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.